Washington Allston. Bewacamaw, South Carolina, 1779. D. Cambridge, Massachusetts, 1843. A pioneer of American Romantic painting, Allston broke with the tradition of portrait painting to produce a small but influential collection of dramatic landscapes. The son of a South Carolina plantation owner, he moved to New England as a child. He graduated from Harvard in 1800 before traveling to Europe, where he studied at London's Royal Academy and worked in Paris and Rome. In 1818, Allston returned to the U.S. and settled in Boston and then Cambridge. He gained some popular success as an author as well as a painter. Elijah in the Desert/He vivid color contrasts in Allston's work earned him the nickname, the American Titian. He painted several landscapes with biblical subjects. 1818, oil on canvas, 125 by 185 centimeters, Museum of Fine Arts, Boston, U.S. Albert Bierstadt. B. Zollingen, near Dusseldorf, 1830. D. New York, 1902. This romantic landscape painter, one of the last of the Hudson River School, see pages 296-97, combined Germanic style with American subjects and a distinctly American approach. Born near Dusseldorf, Bierstadt grew up in Massachusetts. When he returned to Germany to study, he spent much of his time with American artists based there. Like his contemporary Frederic Church, Bierstadt traveled widely but found inspiration mainly from his trips to the west of the U.S., and the Rocky Mountains in particular. His romantic mountain scenes and depictions of wagon trains on the Overland Trail, helped by a flair for self-publicity, gained him enormous popularity in the 1860s. His huge output of paintings sold well and gave him a comfortable lifestyle, including frequent trips abroad. By the 1880s, however, Bierstadt's romantic style was falling out of favor, and his final important work, The Last of the Buffalo, 1888, significantly, a portrayal of fast disappearing glory, was considered too old-fashioned as an American entry to the Exposition Universelle in Paris. Lifeline. 1830, born near Dusseldorf, 1833 moves to New Bedford, Massachusetts, with his family, 1853-57 studies in Dusseldorf, 1859 first visit to western U.S., 1889 The Last of the Buffalo rejected for Exposition Universelle in Paris, 1902 dies in New York. Rocky Mountain landscape. In the Rocky Mountains, Bierstadt found a worthy alternative to the Alps of European landscapes. His well-observed and often huge paintings of the magnificent, unspoilt West were especially popular after the ravages of the American Civil War, 1861-65. 1870, oil on canvas, White House, Washington, D.C., U.S. The Oregon Trail. The stunning plain scenery is depicted in glowing colors that typify the Hudson River School. 1869, oil on canvas, 79 by 125 centimeters, Butler Institute of American Art, Youngstown, U.S. Closer look. Luminosity. Bierstadt painted the glowing skies and the sunset in exaggerated colors, in a style that was sometimes known as luminism, to help capture the atmosphere of the scene. Frederic Edwin Church. B. Hartford, Connecticut, 1826. D. New York, 1900. Frederic Church was a much-traveled landscape artist, regarded as one of the most important of the Hudson River School's second generation of painters. He studied under Thomas Cole in the 1840s, and soon achieved an enthusiastic reception for his historical landscapes. After reading the work of the naturalist Alexander Humboldt, he decided to follow in his footsteps and traveled to South America, Church's first trip taking place in 1853. Church made many extended trips abroad, notably to Europe and the Near East, and also traveled widely in the U.S. The paintings from these trips, including views of Cotopaxi and Niagara Falls, made him both a popular and a financial success. In 1869, he returned from London, where he had seen the work of Turner, and settled outside New York. Arthritis forced him to give up painting in 1877. Lifeline. 1826, born into a wealthy Connecticut family, 1844, studies with Thomas Cole, 1846, paints first major work, the Rev. Thomas Hooker and Company journeying through the wilderness from Plymouth to Hartford, in 1636–1847 settles in New York, 1850, first visit to Maine, 1853, travels to South America, 1857, exhibits Niagara, travels to South America again, 1865, visits Jamaica, 1867–69, tours Europe, 1900, dies in New York. Niagara Falls. From the American side, Niagara is one of the foremost scenic wonders of America. Church detailed, realistic depiction of the falls captures the power of this natural wonder. 1867, oil on canvas, 260 x 231 cm, National Gallery, Scotland, Edinburgh, UK. Cotopaxi Church made a number of paintings of Ecuador's Cotopaxi volcano, in different states of eruption. His major concern in all his landscapes was the accurate portrayal of natural phenomena. 1862, oil on canvas, 122 by 216 centimeters, Detroit Institute of Arts, U.S. Thomas Cole. B. Bolton, England, 1801, D. Catskill, New York, 1848. Cole was a founding member of the group of artists known as the Hudson River School, and in his comparatively short career he produced a number of influential landscapes and allegorical paintings. Born and brought up in the industrialized north of England, Cole emigrated with his family to the U.S. at the age of 17, and after 2 years at the Pennsylvania Academy he joined them in Ohio. Cole's first success came in New York, when fellow Hudson River School artist Asher Brown Durand noticed his work and helped him to find buyers. Cole found a studio in nearby Catskill, from which he could make painting trips into the countryside. His growing reputation enabled him to visit Europe, and after his return in 1832 he embarked on 2 series of huge allegorical paintings, The Course of Empire and The Voyage of Life. He continued to paint the countryside of the northeastern states until his death, aged 47. Lifeline. 1801, born in industrial Lancashire, England, 1818 emigrates to rural Steubenville, Ohio, 1823–25 moves first to Pittsburgh, then Philadelphia, and finally New York, 1827 takes a studio in Catskill, 1829–32 visits England and Italy, 1833–6 The Course of Empire cycle of paintings. 1836 marries Maria Barlow in Catskill, and settles there. 1839 paints the first of the Voyage of Life series, 1841–42 returns to Europe, 1848 dies in Catskill. The Course of Empire, Destruction. The Course of Empire series was produced when Cole was at the height of his powers. The cycle charts the rise and fall of an imaginary city, from the savage state through the Arcadian or pastoral state to the consummation, and ending with destruction and desolation. 1836, oil on canvas, 100 by 161 centimeters, collection of the New York Historical Society, U.S. The oxbow. This view of a bend in the Connecticut River shows the gentle encroachment of man into the wilderness as a storm passes over. The diagonal division of wild natural scenery and cultivated landscape is emphasized by the leaning tree in the foreground. 1836, oil on canvas, 131 x 193 cm, Metropolitan Museum of Art, New York, U.S. Closer look. Cole's umbrella, dwarfed by the vast landscape and barely visible, is an umbrella, closed after the passing of the storm. To the left, Cole has included himself, almost imperceptibly, on the hillside. Thomas Doughty. B. Philadelphia, 1793, D. New York, 1856. Doughty was one of the first American painters to concentrate on landscapes, anticipating the artists of the Hudson River School. See pages 296–97. He was born in Philadelphia and spent much of his life there. He taught himself to paint while employed as a leather worker, so successfully, in fact, that by 1824 he was able to describe his occupation as landscape painter. Doughty exhibited regularly at the Pennsylvania Academy, and his fame spread as far as New York and Boston, where he also showed work. During the 1820s and 30s, his tours of the eastern U.S. and Europe inspired some of his finest work, including the well-known Nature's Wonderland, 1835. Poor health eventually put an end to his travels, and he spent his final years in New York. Lifeline. 1793 born in Philadelphia, 1816 exhibits at Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts, 1824 selected academician in Pennsylvania, 1830s lives in New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Delaware, 1837 first visit to Europe, c. 1845 settles in New York, 1856 dies in New York. Denning's Point, Hudson River. This painting is typical of the tranquil, atmospheric style Doughty adopted from the mid-1830s after visiting Europe. 1839, oil on mounted canvas, 61 by 76 centimeters, Butler Institute of American Art, Youngstown, U.S. Closer look. Smooth edges, gently rounded shapes in the composition of this scene enhance its peacefulness. Framed by the dark foreground and tree, the curve of the midground hill echoes across the picture. Asher Brown Durand. B. Maplewood, New Jersey, 1796, D. Maplewood, New Jersey, 1886. Working first as an engraver and illustrator, Durand turned to painting in the 1830s and became a founding member of the Hudson River School. Already well known for his engravings of famous American paintings and portraits, he devoted himself to landscape painting after a trip to Europe. His work includes Kindred Spirits, 1849, a portrayal of his friend Thomas Cole and the poet William Cullen Bryant in the Catskill Woodlands. Shandaken Ridge, Kingston, New York. Durand's landscapes have a classically balanced composition, like those of European painters such as Claude Lorraine. c. 1854, oil on canvas, collection of the New York Historical Society, U.S.